Thanks for joining us today on the Safety Mojo podcast. My name is Jeff. I'm the marketing director here at Safety Mojo. Today, we're going to be talking about how worker health is a safety issue, specifically proactive health, physical health, mental health, and the case for prevention in construction. And to help us today, we've got a very special guest. We've got Debra Wein. She's the CEO and founder of Wellness Workdays. She's got over 25 years of experience working in the health and wellness industry. She's worked with some amazing clients like New Balance, Turner Construction, Skanska, City of Portland, Maine, Brown University. She holds undergraduate and graduate degrees from Cornell and Columbia. She's lectured all over the place with big organizations like the Associated General Contractors of America, National Association of Occupational Health Professionals, the U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Olympic coaches, MIT. Lot of great experience. And she's also got a book coming out soon called Wellness, the Performance Multiplier. And we've also got Kevin Whitaker. He's a safety professional from the construction industry with about 25 years of experience. He's now on the Safety Mojo team to help us out, and he'll be joining us today. Welcome, Debra and Kevin.
Thank you.
So to start, Debra, I'd like to understand a little bit more about your background, how you got into this type of business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be with both of you. So I am a registered dietitian by training, so I've always been interested in wellness, well-being, but also a focus not just on nutrition, but overall health. And I started my first company, Sensible Nutrition, which morphed into Wellness Workdays when I realized the amount of research pointing to the ways that we can design and strategize around population health. And so I started Wellness Workdays just about 20 years ago. And then I started seeing this trend with construction and industrial clients where there's not a lot of focus on prevention and being proactive. Is a lot of sort of injury triaging and fixing. And I think the same breadth or the same scope of what's happened with safety is starting to happen now with wellness. And Wellness Workdays, we're trying to drive that process forward. So it's been a really exciting journey over the last 20 plus years.
I have one quick question. If you can clarify for me, what is the difference between population health and occupational health?
Yeah. So population health, really, we're talking about taking any population. It doesn't matter specifically if we're not driving for specific risks related to doing your job necessarily, right? So it's not specific to an occupation or being able to do your occupation. Instead, when we're talking about population health, we're talking much more about the overarching wellness of the people at your company. And I believe that more current conversation is around how population health and mental health and physical health, how that comes to the workplace with your employees or subcontractors, the tradespeople that are working on your site for performance, productivity, absenteeism, all of those things. So this conversation is happening a lot where we're melding this population health with industrial workers, if you will.
So Deborah and I met in a previous life, right? I was working with her when we were trying to roll out one of her services on one of her projects. And what always struck me is like the realization is like Deborah realized, like your company realizes, hey, what happens to somebody outside of work doesn't just, once they get to the door, you can't turn that off, right? Like that comes with you into your job. And it's like the starting to focus on the holistic whole human rather than just, oh, you're at work and you had the strain or sprain or whatever. It's like what else is happening exterior that's then you're bringing to work too.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that because we have 15 different metrics. We have 80 that we measure regularly, but these 15 different metrics that when I'm talking to safety leaders and executives, and I mention them, I think, like you just mentioned, Kevin, there's this disconnect. They're not realizing that what's happening at home, whether that's, let's say, low back pain or stress because of marital concerns or somebody's sick at home or problems with healthcare or financial, like whatever, like it's hard for people to always disconnect. Some people find it more easily. And again, different times in different people's lives, we experience it differently. But People are people, and when they come to work, it's hard to just pretend your back isn't hurting. So if you're in a very physical job, safety is an issue now, right? Your productivity is an issue now. So it's hard to just ignore. And that's the simplest example I can think of is back pain, which affects so many people. I don't know the exact number, but a huge percentage of the population experiences back pain at some time or another in their life.
Yeah, I have a question along those lines. In kind of an office setting where people sit all day, there's that kind of back pain. And then on the construction side, where you're doing very physical type of work, where each can be severe. But I'm curious, in kind of an office environment, safety people there or HR people there, were they receptive to programs like yours right off the bat? Did you have to convince them that this is important?
It's really interesting that you asked that because I feel like the safety profession understands it. When I talk to safety leaders, they get it. They know we have to take care of our people. If they're not well, we can't retain them. We can't recruit people. We can't give them hard work to do. HR is a little different because they feel if you come in, you sit at your desk. So what if you have back pain or you have high blood pressure, something else? So I feel like throughout, it takes sometimes a little bit more convincing, but the data is there. That's part of what I wanted to put in my book is there's so much data out there, and I present 4 case studies in there, all different industries. So the data is absolutely there. The problem, and I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but some of the problem is that a lot of the ways that organizations, whether it's construction, manufacturing, or pharmaceutical companies or desk banks, law firms, the way we've gone about wellness is backwards, and it's much more, it has been historically a check the box. Somebody told me to do wellness, my insurance company, or this wonderful person I heard speak at a conference or something can now do a lunch and learn, or we can do a yoga class, or we can bring in a massage chair and call that our wellness program. So there's not this whole process of a strategic direction on why we're doing wellness, how we're doing wellness, how are we measuring wellness to make sure that it's going to work and help. So I think that HR professionals historically have seen a lot of poorly designed attempts at wellness programs. So they're a lot more skeptical than we'd all like to see because we know that, again, people come to work and they're a whole person. They can't just leave their wellness behind.
Yeah. Yeah, that you mentioned something that I have a question about. You said measuring wellness. Can you give just an overview of how you measure wellness?
Yeah, and it does really vary. As I mentioned, we look at 15, there's a huge research study. It was over 770,000 individuals at over 100 employers, and they looked at the cost metrics. So what increases healthcare costs and workers' comp costs, and there were 15 metrics. So regardless of in which one, whether it was something like inactivity or smoking or high blood pressure, low back pain is another example. So it doesn't matter which it was. It's if we have 5 or more, we see that healthcare costs rise by probably 3 times as much as people who have 0 or 1 of these 15 risk factors. So at a bare minimum, that's a great way to use this as a leading indicator rather than a lagging indicator of, oh yeah, our healthcare costs are through the roof and they're increasing at double digits. Our workers' comp are incredibly high, getting worse every year, right? So some of that is safety, but again, all of these tie into safety, and that's what's critical. So we can look at those 15 risk factors or health risk factors. Sometimes they're called cost risk factors. We can look at an ROI of a wellness program. So depending on how many people we can again, lower these chronic disease risks. So we can look at the healthy population versus the unhealthy population, compare their workers' comp costs. We can compare their healthcare costs, and that healthier populations spend less in all these measures. So there's a lot you can measure. There's a lot of data out there showing you how to do it and that it works.
Deborah, I'd be curious too. Do you, in your book, do you talk about like how that also leads to not just the physical cost of the work comp claims, that kind of stuff? Does it lead to absenteeism, loss of production, all that kind of stuff too?
Absolutely. I talk a lot about how I talk about presenteeism, right? And so presenteeism, I like to just describe it as it's a bad word that sounds good. So you think, oh, I'm present, I'm here, I came to work. But it's really, you're present, you came to work, but you're unable to focus on the job at hand. because your back hurts, because you're stressed, because again, you have a sick spouse or a sick child or financial concerns or the weather or the traffic or something. I talk a lot about presenteeism, talk a lot about productivity. There's actually factors that you can use to measure productivity in a population and see the cost of it based on the average hourly rate of your employee population. There's a lot of data. National Safety Council has done a lot of, I'm actually now on the board of the Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Board of the NSC, which I'm so excited to participate more in. And they have a lot of research and showing how to estimate the cost of some of these things. So I put it in my book. I have success stories and case studies from all industries because people are people, right? So if you hurt your back because you're on a job site and you're working too much, or you're sitting at a desk, or you're playing with your grandkid on the floor and you hurt your back, it's your back. So it does really stretch all industries, which is, I think that's a good thing, right? Because we can take a lot of what we're learning from one site and bring it to another.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing you said earlier in the conversation, Deborah, is that safety people get it. Has that always been the case? And I'd like to hear from both of you. Kevin, being a safety guy, has that always been the perception from safety people within the industry? And Deborah, is that what you've also seen, like trying to engage with safety people? I know that things like mental health are topics like that are coming to the forefront more specifically in construction. But Kevin, if you could talk a little bit about how you thought about wellness at the beginning of your career versus 20 years later, what you're seeing now.
Yeah, I think it's evolved for sure. I think my perspective originally and just the interactions I had originally, honestly, wellness was not. The culture of construction has changed quite a bit. And construction historically has been very machismo and, hey, we're like, ah, rub some dirt on it, move on. Like that mentality, and that kind of applied to a lot of life for those workers. But I like when I first met Deborah, like that was the first time in my career that I was talking to somebody about the wellness of the employee, and it was really eye opening to me. And I'm probably on the back end of that. There was definitely some other safety professionals out there that are on the leading edge of that more so than I was. And so, yeah, I think initially, Deborah, you probably can support that. Where it's 20 years ago, it was very hard to get what you were doing conveyed to construction safety professionals.
I feel when I go into a room, a lot of the safety professionals, even HR, a lot of the time they're surprised at what I have to say, right? Because, like you mentioned, physical health affects mental health, right? Which affects productivity, which affects performance of your organization. And bringing wellness and showing people that wellness is safety, and we literally use that as a hashtag all the time, wellness is safety, is different than how a lot of safety professionals, they're like, we know we need to do X, Y, and Z. And we're now wearing different safety helmets as opposed to hard hats or new goggles or kind of safety equipment that we're using over time. This conversation changes. And I've worked with, like you mentioned, some of the largest GCs in the country, and the conversations have shifted because even when wellness is accepted as something we need to focus on, the whole idea of prevention and proactive approaches, it's still a wait, what do you mean? We'll have you on site. If somebody gets injured, your athletic trainers can also just go fix them up. Sure, we want accountability. But I'm saying my athletic trainers who are on site are also certified as behavioral health coaches. So in addition to fixing somebody or managing a severe injury or a minor injury and then providing accountability, we're looking to say, was there anything we could have done to prevent this? And again, that relates to stress, anxiety, depression, so mental health, but also physical health. So rather than somebody coming in because they rolled their ankle on the weekend, but like you said, too macho to come and ask for help or say, is this something I should get looked at? They wait 3 days, work on it, lift heavy loads, do whatever they're doing normally and make it so much worse. So now it's potential truly recordable or something where, yeah, we need to go have them get it x-rayed as opposed to maybe something we could have done prevention wise. So I feel like the conversation shifts, even though you may not want to hear it. One other like quick example, and I'll often when I'm presenting, and if you're going to be at the National Safety Council presentation, you might see the slide come up, but I have a picture of a crane operator. So you think, all right, so the crane operator has specific instructions, what to do, how to do it, everything, what he or she's wearing, people around them. I don't even know all of that. But what I know is that crane operator, I want them to have normal blood pressure, normal blood glucose. I don't want them to have like undiagnosed diabetes. I don't want them to have undiagnosed hypertension. I don't want them to, I could think of so many different things, to have like a huge spasm in their back while they're operating a crane and then have some dire consequences to somebody nearby. And this has happened. We've seen people in these high risk situations where they have undiagnosed hypertension. And who knows? I don't want anybody on or near that crane if we don't have and I don't want to say like an unhealthy person, but a person who might be at higher risk of something happening, right? And
Well,
that's safety.
Deborah, I love that because it is the natural evolution of where it's been in the industry, right? So you have to have a medical card, you have to go get tested, like a blood pressure test once a year, all that kind of stuff, whatever, to become a crane operator, to operate heavy equipment, whatever it is. But then, okay, that's a moment of time, and like what your process is, it's a constant, right? And it's like giving people the ability to focus on the mental aspect of things too. It's like giving people the ability to be able to just express things to somebody who's just like a person where they feel psychologically safe, right? Like where they safety really starts in your mind. If you don't like there's a lot that we could probably dive into this, but it's if I don't feel psychologically safe, if I don't feel like I can actually go to my superior and say, hey man, like I'm having a really bad day, I just need to like, but I have this consequence of if I do that, now I'm not going to work my 8 hours. I'm not going to get paid. So blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to man up. I'm going to get it done. Right. What I noticed with your like conversations with you and starting to look into your case studies and everything like that, it's like having somebody on site or that comes by the site, whatnot, that gives those individuals the ability to then go and say, hey, I'm struggling. This really tragic event happened in my
Right.
life. I don't know where to go. And I've never had to deal with this before. And giving them just the ability to talk to somebody sometimes helps them be able to let go of that baggage and focus of, hey, have that pep talk for the day. I'm going to just focus on what I need to get done. And then they're actually paying attention to what they're doing, right? You can plan as much as you want to. If somebody just had some tragic event in their life and they're operating a roller, like
Mhm.
I'm really hoping that they're paying attention to what they're doing and not thinking about that the entire time
Mhm,
they're operating.
mhm. Yeah, that's true. And what we've found is having this on-site resource. So again, an athletic trainer who can manage injuries, triage, et cetera, working with the nurse line or calling our providers to make sure that we're sending people or getting them appropriate care. Also certified as a behavioral health coach, we can help people with mental health concerns or behavioral health issues learn coping skills, right? Helping them to recognize stress and learn how to manage it. And there's some research showing that this type of approach can help to manage 80% of mental health concerns at a workplace. So the other 20% is where you need an employee assistance program or referral to for counseling or 988, right? So our team members and this sort of training allows for, and it's not, we're not the only ones to do this, but this training allows for, like you were saying, somebody who's having a concern to reach out immediately because you just posted a phone number on the corner somewhere. People are less likely to just dial this random number as opposed to if they see somebody, get used to working with somebody, and or even just seeing somebody around the site that just makes them more approachable. And in this way, we can help more people. And that to me is the whole idea.
Yeah. Deborah, can you walk us through what a typical engagement with your company or what a typical program looks like? Who is it that typically initiates it? Who is involved? How many people from your team? How do you go about researching and developing a program specifically for a construction company? Say, like, how long does it take? What's involved through that?
Sure. Yeah. And so sort of there are a couple of different parts to the engagement, if you will, because again, what we've typically seen is construction sites will hire a medic and they'll say, we've got a trailer, we put the medic there. We got an injury, we call the medic comes running, says, oh wow, okay, great. I love this adrenaline kind of thing. Let me fix this, do that, great, back to the trailer. So what we've said is, hopefully you're on a site where there are not a lot of injuries. So what is the medic able to do, or what is the medic doing 20, let's say if it's an 8-hour day, 7 hours for the rest of the time, right? Because maybe it's 20-minute and then they're writing it up, whatever. So if we have 6 or 7 extra hours, what are we doing? So our athletic trainers are now going on site walks, several throughout the day. So they have a specific sort of goals that they're doing. So they're just saying, hey, Kevin, hey, Jeff, hi, Sam, get to know people, and that's how you're developing relationship and rapport. And we're wearing Wellness Workdays safety gear so they know, oh, this is a separate organization. These are health professionals here to help me. So that helps with the safety and the security and the feeling of privacy. So our team members are walking the site, and then also often with their blood pressure. So in that case of the crane operator, this did happen recently where one of my athletic trainers was walking, the crane operator was coming out, and he's like, hey, want me to take your blood pressure? He happened to say yes, and he happened to should not have been operating a crane at that time. So patient ensued, etc. So we're doing a lot of this prevention. So we're doing education on men's health, on appropriate screenings, on blood pressure, on low back care, on stress, recognizing stress, heat and hydration, nutrition, food for fuel, like you name it. So we're able to target each site and each population because we're involved, and this is, I think, such a win-win for everyone. We're involved with orientation. So my team member is there on site at orientation. We have a QR code and people fill out a quick health risk assessment, right? So it just asks them some questions about their health, well-being, what they'd like to work on, etc. And people say, oh my gosh, are people going to do that? We get 90% plus participation. Because we have somebody there who says, hi, I'm from Wellness Workdays. I'm here to provide services for you. If you hear you need an injury, but if you have questions about this or that, I'm here. Here's a QR code, fill it out. So now I can go back and say, oh, wow, like Jeff mentioned something about X. So now I can see you later on, break room, be like, oh, why don't you come back to the trailer later and we can chat more. And so now you have somebody helping you based on what you've already told us. So we're gathering information during orientations. We're gathering data by doing blood pressure, by doing low back hamstring assessments, right? So we're doing screenings throughout. We also do a lot of recovery conversations. So we bring in people from different unions or people who are going through or are recovering with substance use. So we talk and we bring a lot of conversations. We have women in construction. We've brought like haircuts. We've done massage chairs. We have done a lot of fun things to what people want. So the foundation is this on-site staff person. And so for every roughly 500 people you have on a site, you probably want one full-time athletic trainer. Bigger sites, you need more people because you want not only this got an injury, I'll fix it. But the overarching, like what goes on top of that, what we layer is our population team, our population health team. So that's a lot of what's different about our approach. And what took me time to convince these huge GCs, because they're like, we just want the athletic trainer. Or, okay, I get it, we're not doing a medic. I'm saying, yeah, but in order to do this well, do you want your athletic trainer sitting there for 4 hours developing a blood pressure handout and having to order supplies and then write up everything and then to do your drug screens and biomet? No. So that we have this behind the scenes team so that when that person gets to work that day, that athletic trainer, they are people facing, they are, doing what they need to do to be successful. So that's a differentiator that people still think, wait, do I need this? And the whole idea is that's the strategy, that's the planning, that's the evaluation. We do weekly, monthly, quarterly data reports, and they are phenomenal. So we're talking about every injury that's happened by day, by body part, by sub, etc. And we accumulate all of that, and then coaching by topic, and then we're recording blood pressure changes, cholesterol changes, things like that on again, weekly, monthly, quarterly, so we can demonstrate that there's value in doing this. Because when I can show you that, let's say 10, or this was recently like 11 people in this population had not gone to a doctor in 10 or more years, that is a huge win if we can get them to go to a doctor. And again, I'm not saying there's not problems with medical professions, say what you want about some, but the idea is if now we have somebody going to a doctor who says, wow, you just turned 50, you have high blood pressure, you're inactive, you're overweight, you're male, boom, we got a lot of work to do here. And that's what they're hearing from my health professional too. So now we have a partner, we have a team. So that to me is a win right there. How do you put a price tag on that? Getting 1 or 11 people to go to their primary care physician and then start to think about age appropriate screenings. You can't put a price on that.
It sends a messaging of care. Like that to me is like the big win. And Deborah, you mentioned earlier that safety professionals, it's like they get it pretty
Yeah.
immediately. I'd say now it's like just understanding. Typically, as a safety professional, when you're doing any root cause analysis, like you're looking to see an event happened, what could have been done to prevent that, right?
Mhm.
And typically it would stop at like what could have been done within the confines of that job site or whatever. But it's like you're taking it beyond, right? It's like you're continuing to swim upstream and say, let's start looking at the human. And that really, I think that speaks to a lot of safety professionals. I think it also speaks to a lot of like leadership within construction nowadays because they're looking at it like, hey, I'm investing so much time and energy into this individual to be able to provide them a good living, right? Construction is a hard job.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when you can start to take and put care into the individuals that are in the front lines and actually doing the building, like the managers and the executive safety professionals, we do a lot of work to get the plan right and to make sure like that everything the table is set, but then you need the people that actually do it. And this is cool because it's really focusing on those individuals and really
Mm.
bringing forward a a really unique way of doing it too. Like I'm a big fan of what you guys have been doing, and I don't
Thank
know
you.
if Jeff, are we going to jump into talking through some of the case study that Deborah has?
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up next.
Sweet.
Yeah. So we've talked about how safety people get this and are on board, but what about organizations where safety leadership wants it, but maybe executives they have a hard time justifying the cost for it? Can you talk through any case studies with some data behind it that safety people can look at and say take to executive leadership to help justify a wellness program like yours?
Absolutely. The whole concept of having an athletic trainer on site has been researched. The National Athletic Trainers Association has a lot of data, and I believe their numbers are somewhere between 3x and 7x. So having somebody on site, you don't have to send them off to an urgent care if you can handle a lot of the issues. So that's not even, I don't believe focused even as much on the prevention. But in the work that we're doing, we're seeing anywhere between 5 and just under 10x a return on investment for these 3 to 6 year projects. So long-term project with the largest GCs in the country. Those align with low TRIR. And I understand there's conversation around separating SIFs versus total recordables, things like that. But like a TRIR of like around 1 for a 3 year project with an ROI, the data of like a 7x ROI and 88% engagement in a 1,300 person job site. Like that's an example of one of the projects we did with Turner. So it's just incredible that when you have the data, when you have the right approach, when you get the right people on board and you get the right leadership, you can see this all the time. We just completed another huge project, 6 years, and the ROI was somewhere around 5x. And again, so we're managing what we can on site. We're not sending people off, like you mentioned, that occupational health approach. So we're not saying, oh, you hurt yourself, let's go home. It's like, let's see, do you need to go home? Is there something else you can be doing on site? Or are we just being an alarmist by sending you to urgent care? So we have providers that are helping to make these important decisions with the employee and or the sub, right? Might not even be an employee of that GC. And we're able to measure it. And it's really empowering to be able to look at even some of those risk factors that I mentioned. Sometimes you'll get like subs will be just here for 2 weeks, then they go on to the next site. But if we're working with an organization directly for their employees, then we can start to see these changes over time because we're measuring cholesterol over time. We're measuring a lot of these things ongoing. So the data shows from our organization 60 to 85% engagement. And that's not somebody saying, oh, hi, Hayden, nice to see you today. It's they're coming to get a biometric screening or a health coaching session or participating in a challenge that we're doing. So they're engaging in some way in their own well-being. That's how they get in the engagement numbers, right? So across the board, wellness program engagement is about 33%. So to get 88% of a population of 1,300 people that stepped across the threshold, which became a threshold at that job site, is incredible. But again, it takes a lot of energy. It takes that overarching, as we talked about, the population health approach. It takes that right person on site to do it. And it takes a lot of iteration, right? Because it's the same every time, and it's not like you can just set it and forget it. There's a lot of ongoing continuous improvement that has to happen with any approach to any program. And so we work really hard to make sure that does happen.
Yeah. What about for smaller companies with fewer employees who maybe don't have the resources to run a multi-year program? Do you have any tips for them to at least get started doing a few basic things on their own?
Absolutely. We offer things like biometric screenings, right? So somebody comes in, you have a health professional, and they do a private, it's all secure, and we're not sharing any data. And we're just helping to measure risk for chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, et cetera. So you can help your population that way. It's not very costly, it's very quick. You can provide access to a health coach for the year even. So if somebody's high risk or has a couple of risks, they can work with them. Some of the smaller groups, you could also do a part-time engagement with an on-site athletic trainer. So we have some of our GCs, smaller ones might say we have 5 different sites that we want a roaming athletic trainer to go to. So that's how it could work. We also we have a really this incredible program we just designed, and it's called Brave. And so it's building a toolbox for mental health and construction. So this is another thing we touched upon earlier with mental health. And like I said earlier, physical health affects your mental health and vice versa. If you're not feeling well, you're not going to want to exercise, eat well, take care of yourself, right? So the Brave program that we developed is peer-to-peer. It's actually 3 tiers now, but it's peer-to-peer. So we're helping people recognize and trust their instincts when they're on a job site and they see somebody that they've known them probably for years, and all of a sudden they seem different, they act different, they look different. And rather than saying, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinician, I don't know what to say to this person, we're giving them the tools and resources to be able to say, Jeff, you seem like you're not yourself. Like, anything I can do to help, I'm here for you. And to start the conversation and to be able to not say and try to do cognitive behavioral therapy but it's approaching somebody and feeling comfortable. And the data that we've seen, and we've been doing this across the country, 99% of people that go through this Brave program feel comfortable approaching somebody that they think is having a mental health concern. That's all we need. We just need people on site to support one another and say, I'm sure, fill in the blank of the name of your company, fill in the name of your union, has something. I don't even know what that is, but I just know that I think that you may need help and I'm here to help you. That's all we need. And then, because you're in I'm presuming you're in a better state of mind to be able to say, how do I find a resource? Who can I go to help John? And that's what we need, because I'm sure you've all heard that the rate of suicide in the construction industry is 4 to 5 times higher. So a program like Brave or mental health first aid can help people to recognize symptoms, which I think we all recognize, but I think of this as giving the quote unquote license to people to say, yeah, by asking, it doesn't make it worse. By asking and offering and lending support makes it better. And they may not say, yeah, I need help. It may take 4 or 5 times or 4 or 5 or even 6 or 8 people to approach somebody. But if we can do this as a community, we can make a huge difference. So that was a long-winded way to say we have this sort of 4-hour certification program. It's in person, or you can do it virtually with a group. We actually have a program coming up where individuals can just do it and join a group online in a couple of weeks. So we're really trying to promote mental health awareness, trying to do biometric screenings. We have virtual coaching sessions, and none of this costs a lot of money relative to what we're trying to accomplish, and also relative, again, when we're looking at ROI, if you can prevent 1 heart attack, there's data on that if we have to even prove that. I could go on and on where I've had CFOs, CEOs come to me and say, I know we have to pay your annual fee, but what you just did for this employee is worth everything. I was like, can I remind you that when we increase it next year? Just kidding. But
Oh, no, that's great though. That's great.
can't put a price on everything, but there's a lot of ways to, and what I love is helping small employers, large employers figure out like what can we do in the confines of what we have, what resources, because that's why I got into this industry is I'm a health professional from the beginning. So if we can help a population of 10,000, 110, like that's why we're all doing this, right? That's why safety people, we get into this to, you get into this to help people, right? Bottom line.
Yeah.
I love the passion behind it because that's what makes it successful too. Is it being genuine with it. Like that's what makes a world of difference for everybody that's out there. That because it's gonna be met with a bunch of skepticism at first by a lot of people, and then when people realize that you're genuine and everything, and that's why you're getting such great 88% participation is insane. That's because people say, "Oh yeah, no, it's legit, it's genuine, it's
Thank
great."
you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Deborah, how do people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about Wellness Workdays and the services that you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. My email is Debra, Debra, at wellnessworkdays.com. You can go to our website, wellnessworkdays.com. And in the next, depending on when this airs, couple of weeks, we're rolling out a whole new website because our offerings have really changed over the last several years. So that'll be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, our website, wellnessworkdays.com. And I just want to encourage people, even if you just want to have a conversation about what you're doing, what's going well, what's not going well, and brainstorm some ideas. Because even if we're not the ones providing that service, I really am just honest in my interest in helping populations and helping organizations help their most important asset, which is your people. So even if we're not the ones doing that, if I can help set people on the right path, that's incredible to me. That is literally why I got into this industry in the first place. So just happy to be a resource. We also have a monthly newsletter that we send out, news where we talk, and we have resources we download on there and research. Either we report out on case studies and client successes and things like that, so you can get good ideas. We run an annual conference in April. We'll have our 14th annual Emerging Trends in Wellness Conference. And we had the most incredible safety panel last year. So we had all safety professionals from GCs across the country talking about what they're doing in this area of mental health, wellness, etc. So they are all shared best practices. So we have a lot of education. And on our website, like I mentioned, we've got a ton of free resources. So there's lots, I think, that you could do to get started.
Oh, that's great. And when does your book come out?
So later this year, I don't know exactly a date yet. We're doing final edits and then cover design. So sometime in 2026, it should be out. So fingers crossed.
Okay, excellent. And I imagine there'll be a link on the website once it's ready to go.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for talking with us today, Deborah. The work that you're doing is so important, and I really enjoyed talking to you. And thank you, Kevin, for providing your insight as well.
Sure. Deborah, it was nice seeing you again.
You too. I appreciate both of you so much. What a great conversation. I'm looking forward to many more together.